Welcome to the Illuminate Your Essence podcast, where we cut through the distractions, programs, and stories that have created chaos in your life and discover the truth, bliss, and joy that exists beyond the external clutter and resides within. Welcome back, my friends. Illuminate Your Essence, Wendy Bunnell. And I get to have my dear friend right here, Hollie Hope. And if you watched my video that was launched on 9/11, you already know why Hollie is such a huge part of my life and how much I love her and how much she's done for the transformation of my my healing, my trauma healing story. And so I wanted to share her with you because I knew I already have, just with a few people that I've shared this video with, and it's not 9/11 yet. Many individuals are saying, I want that cuddle puddle and I want the drumming and I want that connection and I want to feel like that video evoked. I want to feel that and I want to have that in my life. And so I thought I would just have Hollie on so that we could talk a little bit more about the power of vibration, sound healing, drumming specifically, and a little bit about it, because this may not be in your world yet. It wasn't in mine for a while. So I first of all want to say thank you so much for being on my podcast, sharing your wisdom and your love with the entire world. So
of course, I love what you're creating and I love what you're sharing and expanding so much of what so many of us have been literally crying at night, begging for.
Yeah. I mean, it just wasn't enough for the Me Too anymore. Me Too's awareness. And that's where we begin. We begin with awareness, but it is the time to heal. Now it's a lion roar into the world saying it's time to heal, where it's no longer just enough. And where we're going in the future, I really believe that the emotional baggage of yesterday has to be let go. Let go. What do you think?
Yes, absolutely. And when we heal our baggage, it's really interesting to use the word baggage because we unload all the time, but we don't actually often heal it. And that's where like the Me Too is really powerful because we're unloading, but then it's like, now my luggage is empty, but I don't know what to do with it. And I don't know how to incorporate that into my everyday life too. And so that's where I feel like this is powerful because it's going to allow people to know, well, what do you still want to carry around and what can stay gone and how to keep it gone.
Exactly. So I'm going to just start off by how I actually met Hollie and how drumming became a very important part of my life. I had a request to the universe in on New Year's Eve, 2021. I asked to just literally be shown the next steps of the transformation of my life. I wanted to feel more connected to source, in my words, God. I wanted to know who I fully was without all of the other programs in the background that I knew I'd created. And that was I wanted to get to the very essence, illuminating my own essence. So that was my cry to the universe. And Hollie was a Facebook friend, a friend of friend. I always saw this beautiful fiery redhead that was just like, what is she doing? She's drumming, she's doing all these things. It's so cool. And she had a retreat coming up in my local community. And I felt this incredible pull, this incredible call to sign up for it. And it was funny. There was a little bit of resistance at first because it was, I go to a lot of retreats and I go to a lot of conferences, but I'm usually asked to be a participant in terms of putting it on. So I'm either a speaker or someone who's contributing and I don't normally have to sign up. And my heart said, sign up. And I actually think there's this energetic exchange that I needed to do also to buy all in, and that I wasn't there participating and giving, that I was simply receiving, right? So here I am, I go to this beautiful location and I walk in and there she is. And she taught me that the power of this technology that we're going to be now sharing with you. And the video shared it all. It literally took the last little bit of energetic connection between me and my perpetrators that was blocking me from fully experiencing pleasure, fully experiencing my full sexual expression that couldn't be expressed until it was gone. And Hollie literally helped me take that, and I can't even express it. You could probably express what happened. I don't even know what happened. Hollie can tell us, but so that was a really long introduction, but I wanted to kind of give a background story on that scene. If you haven't seen the video, go to Time to Heal, time2 heal. You can hashtag that either on Facebook, any of the social media platforms, or go to YouTube and put Time to Heal, and it will bring up that video and you can watch it for yourself. So anyways, Hollie, I'm going to kind of give it over to you because I want you to share how you got involved in this and then teach us about the power. Why does this work so well? So there you have it.
Oh, I love it. And I love the cuddle puddle is depicted in that video. And that's what came after the release, is that cuddle puddle, that nurturing back in when we make that empty container. So I love that that's the piece that so many people are drawn to, because that's like after you birth something really hard and you do the labor, that's like the love that just pours in and you just cuddling and squeezing your new baby. So so I got started in this. I've been in the world of intuitive healing for 16 years, maybe 17 now, numbers and math. And it found me, actually, I was one of those people who said, this is a bunch of weird woo-woo stuff, and I don't even know how this fits in my realm of understandings.
Yeah.
And I actually had this, originally energy healing found me because I had this block that I didn't realize I had. I was very successful in my business. I was a professional makeup artist, and I would have these zoom up to really high success, and then I'd fall into like this scarcity and cut it all off.
Yeah.
And I couldn't figure out what it was, like zoom, eek, like, am I successful or am I not successful? And I was talking with a dear friend, and she said, Hollie, I think you have like some trapped emotions around being seen and being successful. And I went, what? Like, are you speaking Quechua? Yeah. Like, what is this? And it was very weird to me. And she's like, okay, I know I'm not explaining it well because I can tell you're not receiving it well. You just need to talk to this gal. And so then I talked to this gal, and she was able to, you know, without any video, without seeing my face, just over the phone before we had that, she was able to pinpoint like emotions that I had stuck inside. And I began working with her every week and started to feel guilt because she refused to charge because it was a spiritual gift, which that's a whole nother topic. Oh, yeah. Your gifts are meant to be used to help humanity. And if you need to receive money in that form, that's powerful, because then you're not off spending your gifts somewhere else for somebody else to receive money. So that's a whole nother box. I won't go off on that tangent. But I began feeling guilty because she was spending so much time with me over and over and over again to heal. And it was like the same insecurities, the same fears. And at that point, I had become certified in her modality, and I learned how to do it, and I still wasn't telling anybody. And women would find me that would ask point blank, did you ever feel like there was that one thing you just couldn't get past and you couldn't get over? And I was like, okay, don't tell anybody, but come over to my house. I have this thing I do, but it's really secretive because I don't know if it's okay or not. And then in meeting with these women, I would find that they started coming with the same patterns, the same challenges over and over again in these cycles. And I got really frustrated and impatient one day, and I went straight to God and I said, how is this still happening? Why can't we get deeper? Right. And then the answers came through very intuitively. Oh, you can have an allergy to an emotion. You can have an addiction over here. You're not getting to this piece. There's a physical component, and there's all these other things that weren't being addressed. So over the years, all the answers started to come, and I started to help people with that. And I call it the beauty perspective. That's the name of my company. And in those learnings with people along the way, drums found me. And they have a tendency to do that. They just kind of call to you when you don't even know anything like, about anything.
Oh, I really like that drumming thing. I'm not sure what that's about. And it's a little weird. It's a little out there, but yeah.
And the thing with drumming too is when they do find us, it's like they've always been there. Oh. It's like that always knowing. And there's a reason for that. And part of that is because when we're in utero, in our mother's womb, which we all came from one, unless you're a clone, which, let's have a conversation. I'm pretty sure beeping would work like monitors if that's the case. But sound is integrated into our body. We are all vibration. That's why people say, raise your vibration and things like that, because we literally are vibration. It's just slower vibration feels more dense, and faster vibration we don't perceive as well. And this is how we get to interact in this beautiful existence. And for me, what happens when you're in utero is that I anchor into the very first language that we have. It's not light or dark. It's not our own self-identity. It's our mother's heartbeat. And when we're in our womb with our mother's heartbeat, our cells are literally saying, align to your highest, most perfect form, align to our highest, most perfect form. Birth defects and mutations and things happen when things aren't aligned in their highest, most perfect form. And when we have trauma and we have pain, then what happens to those cells is they don't know where they're aligning to. That's why we call it getting in alignment, because it helps our cells to line back up. And so it anchors us into before we even had vocabulary of what's going on. So we can heal things that we couldn't even put words to with sound. And for my story, my mom actually grew up on a Blackfoot reservation. They had a KFC in Bear Country and a trading post, fried chicken.
All right.
And so I always had this extra affinity that she taught me. Like I'd try on her moccasins when I would try on her high heels, and it was so much fun. And my oldest daughter, actually, her lineage, she's half Native American. So her dad was full Native. And so there was that piece that was there. But then with that, for me, I had a lot of abuse and a lot of trauma around it. So I never really allowed myself to fall in love with the drums, because I told myself it's a medicine that wasn't for me. And because I was told it wasn't for me by somebody who was very toxic and violent. And so I didn't want to step outside of that. And I wanted to stay very small. And after I had began my healing journey and began working with energy and all the intuitive work, then I found people who were woo-woo and in that world of sound healing and energy and vibration and drums. And they would invite me to come drum with them. And I went, no, because I also took band and I was really good at band, but never been really good at percussion per se.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, I don't know. That's a lot of pressure. Everybody can hear you. Again, being seen is a challenge.
Yeah.
And I remember one dear friend, I had met her at a retreat and she had a drum and she's like, yeah, I took it to California and the sound changed and I don't know. And I'm like, oh, that really stinks, but a drum would be nice. And I kind of want one, but I didn't really feel that activation with it. And she didn't even drum it because she told me it sounds bad. I'm not even going to drum it for you. So once again, the drum was there in my hands. And I was like, maybe not. Yeah, no, don't worry. If it sounds bad, I don't want to hear it. And I actually said no. And so she brought me to a drum circle that was put on for veterans that had come back and having suicide prevention and awareness. And it was in Utah County. And I went into this drum ceremony and literally there were chairs all around. They had already done the drumming and the singers had already done their singing. And there were women who were just sitting there playing on a drum. And I sat down by the women to be near the women. And they said, here's a drumstick, put it in my hand, go ahead and beat it. And I was like, oh no, it's not for me. And I pushed it away. That's not my medicine. I know my place and I'm not going to be too loud. I'm not going to be seen. And then somebody else came over and said, Hollie, you can drum this here. And I went, oh, no. I don't know how. I don't know. And so after the third person said, here's a smaller drum. And I went, oh, I'll drum the smaller drum. Okay. And
a little more comfortable.
And it was a little tiny one. And I was like, okay, nobody can really hear me over this big thunder drum. So we're okay. And then they said, you should really bang it with us. And I went, okay, fine. They're never going to stop. So I take the stick and I'm like, fine. And I crack it on the drum, just bang like that, kind of a little bit of when your teenage daughter doesn't want to do something and then she does it with a lot of fine, I'll clean my room, slam my door.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like my door slam. And the best way I can explain it is it felt like the energy that I put into that drum went into the drum, down into the earth, came up through the bottom of my feet, up to my chest, and something cracked open. Like lightning shot out. And it was like, oh, and orgasm would be a really beautiful word for it. Like this orgasmic activation of everything just unleashing.
You tend to have that effect.
Women tend to orgasm after interacting with me. Sorry, fellas. Just have your women have a conversation with me, and I'll teach you everything.
You can say you're welcome.
You're welcome. You are welcome. Oh, yeah, I should say you're welcome. Thank you for that. And so with that cracking open, somebody even took a picture of it, and I literally look like a hyena. My eyes are as big as they can get, and my mouth is like, I can't even, I'm like, does my face even move that way? It was just like, it was just so much pure joy and exhileration and freedom. And I felt this call that just would not ever be stifled or subsided again. And I learned how to make drums the way the ancient women did. And I sat with women, and some of them, they provided it. And I said, go off to the woods and make your drum. And I was like, I'm so mad you're not walking me through this right now. I don't know how to craft, but I do know how to heal, and I do know how to connect. And so I learned making drums that way. And then as I evolved and I began to study, it was like this awakening cracked open in me. And I would have these, I don't know if they're memories or imprints from the earth, because I feel like it's a combination of both, of how to tie them, how to take care of them. People would come to me with questions that I would know the answers without knowing how I know. Talk about spiritual gifts activating. And over the years, I've discovered a deeper connection with them, and how to make them, and how to help them to connect us to our heart center. Because the drums will always call you home to your heart and home to who you are, because it dials us back to when we were in utero and aligning with the highest, most perfect selves. And as we move forward into the healing with women and how that looks, and men as well, I should always say men are absolutely included.
Yeah. And I want to preface that too, because a lot of what I'm doing is for women. And there is a very deliberate reason, because it starts with women. And as the women heal, we invite our men to start that process as well. And we show by example to our children how that looks, what that feels like, how we show up different. So there was a very deliberate reason why I brought the sisters in first, because it's going to start there.
And even when we do like the womb healing and the womb trauma, a lot of men don't know that they have womb trauma. I'm like, didn't you come from a woman? Doesn't that show up? Don't you chase women? So any traumas that come through will affect the men too. But the more the women show up as themselves and they're chasing them, the more they will start to adjust and adapt and be open. So yeah, absolutely. And we've had men at our healing circles, and they hold a powerful masculine safe space,
that grounding, right?
Yes.
Oh,
and the big chesticle hugs, which are completely filled with love and platonic pure intention. So that's been so beautiful when we've had that at our experiences too. So I love to, for the fellows watching, I love to make sure that they know they are loved, and this is all encompassing.
It's not about women power and men are evil and awful, and it's more, what as we begin to see ourselves and see our essence, we can also see the beauty in men, and we can heal that trauma that many of us have experienced with men, and start to come to a place of absolute compassion, absolute love, being willing to connect again with men, because it's now safe. So really healing that wound that many of us have had.
The wound of the womb.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. Because even if we've been married, how many of us don't have deep and close relationships with our husbands because of that very trauma that we experienced? And so many of us have at some point.
And even as we talk about the women and the womb and that reflection in relationships, if we think of what feminine essence is, and we all have masculine and we all have feminine, you want both to be equally within you. But when we think about the feminine side specifically, that feminine side is a receiver, and the feminine will receive in and then create from what she's received. So if you've received trauma in, and you've received darkness in, and then you're also receiving light and love in, you're still going to create things that are contaminated, even your light, with that darkness.
So that would make sense with the energy that was still in me, because that didn't leave. When I had my rape at 15, my gang rape at 17, there was still an energetic connection somehow that needed to be severed. Am I saying that right?
Mhm.
Okay. And then by being in that space of healing, you were able to energetically cut
Mhm.
that tie so
Mhm.
it no longer existed.
And that's part of the power of why we do it in a group versus just one-on-one. Like one-on-one is strong and powerful, but
Mm,
when you have an abundance of people holding you and
mm,
cuddling you and really
mhm,
infusing their light essence in, what are you left to receive when you move that out? But
mhm,
pure light from multiple women with
mm.
multiple love and resources. I'm a
Yeah.
goosebumpy. Spirit
Yes.
bumps.
Yes.
I don't know if you can see them on the camera, but
You
they're
know,
there.
one of the things that you can't see in camera that happened is the person who was holding my head in her lap was humming like I was a baby.
Lullabies.
Yes, she was humming lullabies. And I remember as I felt those women around me and my head in the lap and the humming in my ears, this is heaven. This is how we were always meant to show up.
Mhm.
This is how we were always meant to connect, and we've just forgotten.
Mhm.
And now we're remembering.
Yes. Oh, I
Yes.
love it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to share too many details about your exact healing process because I feel like that's past and
Yeah.
that's a little
Yeah.
bit more sensitive.
Exactly.
So I'm not going to share those deep details, but there are components of the healing with sound that are really important. So you can just play sounds and play drums, and you can have a beautiful movement experience. You can receive energy healing, and you can
Mhm.
have that whole vibration come in. But you also do need that conscious connection. So I
Mhm.
like to talk about it as a pyramid. And at the top, you have the conscious mind, which says, oh, we are releasing this out of your body. And
Mhm.
it's funny because when we met, I didn't know her story. I didn't know anything of it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, there is some things, and these are the words to those things. And it looks like black sludge. And we're going to
Mhm.
use these crystals and we're going to have it move.
Yeah.
And as I'm doing that, she's automatically just full surrender, like whatever you say. Like here she is trusting the stranger. But she was able to trust herself the first time by showing up. And she learned how to follow that pull when your
Mhm.
heart says, I need this. I'm scared, but I need this. Okay, let's do this. And so it's like excitement,
Yeah.
hesitation, but okay. And so as we were going through, I was trying very hard to like vocalize,
Mhm.
this is what I'm doing. You are still safe. Just so you know, this is what I'm doing. And it was me just wanting to make sure she was in a bubble of complete and utter
Mhm.
safety. And I didn't know that she had experiences with
No.
lack of safety.
No.
But I had those experiences of lack of safety. I was raped at 14 as well, and well, a little bit younger, but same. And so, and had lots of abuse that I had experienced. And so I was like, safety is so powerful here. And so many times we get re-traumatized because we don't know that we're safe. And then we're open, and then we don't feel safe.
Yeah.
And so now we have more of a reason to block up and hold back. And so the part that I
Absolutely.
loved is that you felt safe enough to fully surrender to the process,
Mhm.
not just consciously at the top of that pyramid, but energetically and
Mhm.
emotionally and also physically.
Mhm.
And so when we think of that pyramid, we have the consciousness at the top, we have the energy down. I'm like, how do I make a corner that I poke at? You know, it's like, we have the energy and the emotion. So we had that. No, I did not just do that. I love you. I love you all. Ask me what part of the body I help heal the most. Just ask me, say you help healing wombs and create orgasms without saying you create wombs and orgasm healing. Like, okay. But the energy, well, and honestly, let's divert for just another second. Like when we're when we're exchanging sexual energy with another person and that physical energy, you have a chance to heal deeper any sexual trauma or to re-traumatize it. And you can actually use sexual intimacy to heal a lot of this stuff, which is a lot of why there's so much corruption around it, because
Mhm.
it is powerful.
Right.
It's your highest energy portal is that womb space, because that's where life comes through. And as women, you're the gatekeepers to life.
Right.
Like if you want to know how important that part of your body is, that's how important it is.
And I think the whole end part of the video is concentrating on that power that I had no idea what I was missing out for 50 years of my life. That there was this, I don't even know how to put it into words, the alignment and the understanding and the clarity that I received as I have opened that center back up, it's like this portal
Awareness.
of light,
Mhm.
this absolute connection to source energy.
Awakening,
I mean,
activating.
Yeah, I mean
all the buzzwords.
all the buzzwords, but I mean they're good
Mhm.
words in the fact that it really does depict what I'm trying to say. And so you're exactly right. The reason why I felt it was so important to share this story that I was not going to share with anybody, y'all. Like I literally, I texted you. I was like, oh, you're not gonna. And she celebrated with me because
I did. I was,
yeah, and it was.
I love that I'm the person you call after your orgasm. Just saying. Can I? And you're not the only one. I love that I am now, that is part of my everyday life.
There you go. There you go. And 2 years ago, I couldn't even say the word orgasm.
She's like,
the O word, that O word that we don't talk about. And now I recognize that it's so beautiful. No wonder it's been covered up. No wonder it's been shoved up in the corner, because the power that we can hold as a female with that sexual energy, the powers out there, I believe we're very deliberate in knowing that if they cut us off from that, that they would cut us off from God.
That is exactly so. I just cut you off.
You're good. No, you went like this. You were receiving. You went like that. Yeah.
See what I'm creating? And well, that's the part that I did want to touch on is, a lot of women have a physical orgasm, and they cut off their energy centers. So you have actually 12 energy centers, but for most understanding, we call them chakras, and they're, 7 main known ones. But in those, each one has its own section, right? So you have this section, this section, this section, all the way down, and you can't really see on the camera. So what happens sometimes is we'll cut off our heart and our core from our receiving and our sacral and our belly and our root chakra, which is where our genitalia are. So when we cut that off, we can have sex and we can have pleasure and physical orgasms. But the orgasms we're talking about are soulgasms. Like they're when the energy down at your center comes up and ignites with the heavens, and you get downloads and inspirations.
Yeah,
I
can't even put it into words. There's no words. There's no words. But let me tell you, not only is it pleasurable and connective and unbelievable, but it's also a place where we can manifest more than any other time. If you want to create a totally different life for yourself, one that is of your making, this is where we can start. And my life, if you look at what happened from May of 2021 to September of 2022, there's just, it's night and day different. So you can see the before, Wendy, the before orgasm and the after orgasm.
BO and A. Wait, don't tell people you used to have BO.
But I mean, honestly, I think I'm just kind of
I'm
driving home the point that it is important. And what you're saying is you can still have the physical, but you don't necessarily have the spiritual, that alignment, and that trauma can prevent us from experiencing the full capacity of what we can experience and we can create.
Absolutely. Oh, I'm like soulgasming right now. It's good. I'm like, hold on, I'm just going to receive that in. And I really do love that you share how much it shifts into this activation. And if you want to know, like a little secret about me is, we all have, well, we don't all have them, but a lot of us have vision boards and goal boards and posters. So all of them, I call them gratitude boards because they're things that I'm grateful for that I already know are coming. Yeah. So there's no deficit. And speaking of coming, when I put it on my, did you like how I slid that in? So my gratitude board is actually on the ceiling above my bed. So it's the first thing I see when I go to bed and the first thing I see when I wake up in the morning. But then when I'm in that space of soulgasm, whether with myself or with my beautiful partner, I get to look up and see so much gratitude of what's coming in and what's calling in. And that's when we get into like sex alchemy and sex healing and all of those things, which are completely deeper topic, because the first thing to do is have that healing piece. And that is a little buzzy right now, is like sex alchemy, use your sex magic to create all this stuff. It's like, wait, What did you receive first?
Mhm.
Do you have toxic things that are still in you? Because you need to heal those and look at those first
Right.
before you start creating. Otherwise, you create muddy mess that's not actually what
You're
you
like,
want.
wait a second. I don't want to create that. Why do I keep creating this?
Why do I create it and it leaves? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that is so, I love the depiction of this. And I'm certain the women are out there going, okay, all right, sign me up, sign me up. I want to know, I want to have this experience, whether it is just that full body pleasure, I don't know, experience is
Mhm.
probably the best word to describe it in, or simply that I want connection. I want connection. I want love. I want to I want to feel, we all have the desire to feel and be understood and be seen. And in that space of safety, you experience all of them.
Mhm.
And you go back understanding that you are important. You are an important part of this creation, that you are an important part of planet Earth, and that you are needed for your own spiritual gifts and your own unique attributes that you have. And you can start to see them more, which allows you to really become more in tune with who you are, not the external stuff, not the things that we see, not the things that we are told will make us happy, but the absolute essence inside of us.
That reminder calling you into calling you home again.
Yes.
And I love that you called it experience, because I actually stopped calling my retreats and I call them immersive healing experiences. So people don't think they're going to be on a beach sipping a pina colada.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, they're work. They're not,
Mhm.
oh, this is just so relaxing and refreshing. It's like, no, we're here for a mission and a
Yeah.
reason. Let's move it forward.
Yeah.
And I didn't quite explain the physical part. So I'll just share a little
Please
bit of
do.
the physical really quick.
Yeah.
So when we have the mental and then the emotional and the energetical, the physical, oh, that's
yeah.
how we got lost. We were here and we forgot.
Squirrel. Sorry. Just keep up out there. Keep up.
Anybody who works with me know this is how I operate, though. So you're welcome. So then we have the physical side. And now you'll remember my little triangle forever. On that physical side, that's where being in person is so powerful. And I do a lot of work virtual and remotely, and I do a lot of courses and trainings. And you have some amazing courses coming. And a lot of that's great, but it leads to having a deeper understanding, so that when you come to an immersive experience, you can surrender understanding what is happening. And that's the piece where the drums come into play the most powerful, because if we've already mentally figured it out, we've emotionally connected with it, we've energetically cleared it from our body and our essence and our auric fields, then we get into the physical body and how it holds trauma and it remembers. The body always remembers.
Right.
That's how when you can hear a song, you suddenly react to it. That's how when there's a situation that you were once there before, your body reacts. You're watching a movie and you see something, or maybe you saw the video and there are trigger pieces in it, and maybe you felt like a sick pit in your stomach and you're like, oh, maybe I should stop watching. Because that's your physical body responding to something. And in your body, you're made up of cells. And the cells have little gates that open and close and open and close. When we go through trauma, catastrophic illness, depression, anxiety, or we just lose a sense of who we are and we need that reminder, our cells stop because they don't know what our highest, most perfect form is. So they stop. And this is as much a physical response as it is an emotional and an energetical, because the cells are all made of all of them. And so what happens when we drum is that vibration starts to get them to move again. It gets them to open and to close. And when they open, they're able to release anything negative, anything dark, any toxins that are in your body, and they're able to receive in nutrients and love and all of that light. So that's where, even when I say, because we do drum ceremonies versus drum circles,
Right.
and I kind of make that differential because the drum circles will have the vibration that will get your cells to move. They won't last permanently unless you hit the mind point and the energetical point and the emotional point, but they will get you to move. So they will create a euphoric feeling. They will help you to get through the day. I have moments where, I'll just share. So I had a moment in my life where it was right after the drums found me. And I had been a healer and I'd been doing the work and I couldn't figure out how to recover. My husband of 13 years left me for another woman he met at the gym. And he said he hated everything about me when he left. And even down to I'm no fun. And he likes women to look this way. And
You're no fun.
I'm no fun. No, I'm no fun at all.
Yeah. Whatever.
And even down to And all your woo-woo stuff is just a bunch of bullshit. That's what he said. Sorry for the swear word, but also not, because I already did this. So we're there. I'm just quoting.
I hope some of you will go to the YouTube version of this, because if they're just listening to the podcast, they're like, we're missing part of this.
We're missing a
So go
lot
over to
here.
YouTube and you can see what she's doing. She's doing some hand gestures right now. So.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that. If you're just listening to the audio, yeah.
That's okay. We're good.
Thanks for appeasing and connecting with those people. So he basically ripped apart everything that I thought was my best part. And I did not recover well. And I lived in my closet for 3 months. I dropped 4 dress sizes. I begged God to just let me die because I was scared of what would happen if I killed myself on the other side. That's the only reason I didn't. So I'm grateful for my belief and fear of what exists beyond. I've had beautiful experiences with people who have been through that, and like after they have passed through suicide, which is why we do what we do, is to heal that. And it's really a beautiful thing when they're on the other side. So it's not anything like I thought it would be from who I've talked to in the non-physical world. Is that a weird disclaimer? But it's there. I'm like, oh, it's there.
We're already going there. We already talked to the
If I triggered something, you can feel free to reach out. We can have a conversation. But while I was in that closet begging for death, and hoping for it, I had other people coming and taking care of my children. I just had no purpose, because I lost myself in that, and I couldn't find any resource or anyone who could talk me through it or out of it. And then a drum showed up. I had ordered it from a dear friend, and she had painted a lion on it. Speaking of the lion. And I said, whatever spirit animal, like I connect to so many spirit animals, whatever you feel called. And it took her a little while to get it to me. And so she delivered it like while I was in my 3-month hubble in the bottom of my closet. And it was my closet because no one can hear me cry. And it was, I could lock 2 doors. And so if my kids got through one door, I could have the other one locked. My poor children. They're fine. They're great.
Yeah.
They moved and healed with me. And so what I did was I would take that drum. Oh, and I'll just show you because I have one. I happen to have one here. So here's one drum. This is my womb drum, red for the womb. And I took the drum and I would hold it right over my heart. And let's see if I can do this with our little small space here. And I would drum it, and I would drum it, and I would drum it. And I would sob, and I would scream, and I would wander my house, and I would keep drumming. Like there were snot stains all over that thing. Like I would just keep going until I could catch my breath. And it felt like I could actually breathe, because when we're stuck in a traumatic state, we can't breathe. We don't want to receive anything in from this world. This world is doing us wrong. That's why we shut it out. And so that's why when we do the deep, deep immersive healing, we incorporate the drums, because they will help keep the breath flowing. They help keep the cells flowing and keep things moving. And it had the ability to literally save my life, because goosebumps, because squirrel goosebumps, it literally saved my life, because what it did was it got me to get up and breathe. And it reminded me of who I am. And it was a slow process. And it wasn't, oh, I drummed once and everything's better. Ding, ding, ding. But literally it was months of doing it every single day when I was at my hardest points and going through the ugly divorce process and that we went through. Not that everyone has to be that way. And it was just really challenging. And that's what kept me going, because it anchored me into, well, what's our highest, most perfect form? What does that look like? And it was able to hit the points in my body and in my heart where the pain was so deep and so ingrained from so much previous trauma that it wasn't able to even be verbalized, because my logical brain says, oh, you're better off. You're fun. You're this, you're that, you know who you are. But the rest of me did not agree. And so it was like this war in myself. So the drum brings people together and it connects them. Even anciently, all of our ancestors drummed. Every continent, every civilization, it's already in your DNA. And a lot of my drum styles now are more of the Celtic tie. You know, fun fact, but it's literally everywhere. And the reason for that is because the drums are how we gather and how we connect. That's why we sit in a circle when we drum. We're giving our essence, we're giving love and that light and that pure heart, so that we can help to create healing in each other. So I love that through this whole thing, like the end of the video, all the women are gathering and frolicking, and it's just so perfect ending. And it's the perfect celebration because it's showing what happens when you do heal is you're no longer scared of people.
Yeah.
You're no longer scared of yourself, and you're no longer scared of yourself showing up as yourself in front of people, which is why I can make weird comments and, we just kind of laugh at them and they're like, wow, she's really out there.
And then I can put a video out to the world about me not having an orgasm till I'm 50. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have to get over myself because it's going to help someone heal.
And actually, geographically, more women don't orgasm than do.
So interesting. So you know what? As I'm speaking, there is someone out there that's going, yeah. Or they could be like me, where I'm like, well, sex is pleasurable, but I have no idea what the hoopla is all about, And when people say orgasm, I was like, have I had one? And here is my suggestion and offering to you. If you're asking if you've had one, if you're asking the question, you haven't had one. I mean, you will know. There is no question about it. You will know. So that is the suggestion and offering I'm giving to you. If you're questioning it, you probably have not, which opens this beautiful door to experiencing it. Because once you have that awareness, now we can go to the healing, and now we can help you experience a part of yourself that will change everything. Will change everything.
And it heals your relationships too. Because is it really fair of us to expect a man to know our bodies and to know why we are or aren't orgasming? Like that's a lot of pressure. And so that goes back to how we're healing the men by taking the pressure off. I'm responsible for the way my body responds. And if it's not responding to you, either there's something in me that I'm not letting go of that I received, or there's something in your energy that's off and I don't want to receive it. So I'm shutting it down. Like that goes two ways. And so I think it all dials back to knowing yourself, understanding yourself, and releasing everything that is not yourself.
And that's why it was so important for me to take myself on a date, because I needed to feel safe. I needed to have that experience and no pressure of, I believe that I discovered it took probably 90 minutes to 2 hours for me to really and I had no expectation. There was no expectation. It was just like, I'm going to discover myself. And when it ended up happening, that's when I really did break down and cry. I think I cried for 2 hours. There was just so many tears of sorrow for that younger version that really did have this disconnect in her story. And that she was spiritually and energetically hijacked, and she didn't know it. She just kind of tucked it in the past and thought, this is just part of who I am. And now I cried for tears of joy for the woman who now could experience life different for the second half of her life. And all I have a desire now for is for my sisters to have that. And so those people that you're saying, there's more individuals that haven't than have. This is our gift. This is our gift. This is the starting point. This is where you start. And we have lots of resources to get you there, because you're probably going, how in the world, what do I do? And where do I start? So there's a course that we're taking you to that helps you feel safe in your body and helps you with your nervous system. That has to be the first starting point. And then the second part is going to be, okay, let's dive deep. Now, here's the thing. I know that a lot of you want to experience the power of vibration and sound healing. So Hollie's going to share some resources, and then I'm going to give you a little spoiler alert here in just a second. So how can they connect with you? You have all sorts of opportunities, in-person opportunities that they can be with you. You do a lot of these. You don't call them retreats, you call them
immersive healing experiences.
I like that. I like that. And you are being very intentional with these, but they're very small. You keep them intimate.
Very.
Okay. So they're very
We're going deep. So we really want not a huge audience, and we want time to go as deep as we need to go and help with integration while you're there. So you don't go and heal and then you go home and you're like, what do I do with all this? I'm going to shut it all down again. So we have these deep healing immersive experiences. We also have drum ceremonies, and there are practitioners that are certified through me that are heartfelt. Oh, these women are like my life soulmates. And it is like when I have practitioners, we make a life contract pretty much. And they are also hosting drum ceremonies where they can help you experience the release process and the sound. Then we also have online classes and tutorials and understanding. Also, my social media is a really great place. I do drop
Yeah.
a lot of information because Spirit told me you need to be educating and not marketing.
Yeah.
So we're educating as much as we can. So if you go to my website, the easy link is just Hollie Hope, and it's HOLLIE HOPE.com. That will link you to a lot of that stuff. Instagram, Hollie Hope, HOLLIE.hope. And I think my
You're on TikTok.
TikTok is
You're
like
on
Hollie Hope
Facebook.
Hills. So yeah, if you just look up my name, you'll find me.
Yeah, you
Spirit's
will.
really good about helping you find me.
And I'll put it in the show notes too.
Oh,
I'll
sweet.
put it in the show notes so that you have direct access along with the Time to Heal introductory trauma program so that you can start down the road if this is calling to you. And then the spoiler alert is that we will, by the time you hear this on September 14th, we will have at least a date and a vision of a bigger retreat that we're putting on together. Hollie, myself, Laurel Houston, you guys have had an opportunity to hear and experience these incredible women in my life. And so if you want to get on the waiting list for information, there will also be a link to the landing page. You can go on there. You can see a little bit about it, at least see, the date and where we're going. And then you can get your name on the list so that we can give you more information as it comes up.
Yes. And also, if you're a little nervous to dip your toes into the drum stuff and you would like to read about it first, by then my book should be available for pre-order. It's called Reclaiming the Drum.
Yay.
The Sacred Wisdoms of the Divine Feminine Essence.
Oh,
so
beautiful.
It goes over the logistically and scientifically what the drums are doing. So that's a good resource that will hopefully be available to you by then, if not soon after. So
wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hollie.
All the wisdom.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're
Thank
so
you.
welcome.
I just love this woman so much. And I hope that you can feel the love that she conveys to all of you as well. That is our desire for our brothers, our sisters, is for them to heal so that collectively we can heal this broken and hurt world. So until next time, I want to just say namaste, and I will see you. Let's continue this dialogue, this deep dive on the next episode of Illuminate Your Essence. Thank you for listening. I invite you to continue the dialogue, the discovery, and the deep dive on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Also on my website. Feel free to download your free copy of the 5 Steps to Discovering Your Inner Voice and begin your journey of discovering the truth within today.